My hands tremble in the dim light filtering through the bedroom window. Not as violently as last month, but enough to remind me of my mortality. 73 years old with stage 3 pancreatic cancer, a death sentence by any measure. But it's not the cancer that keeps me awake at night, staring at the ancient Sicilian stars. It's her, my son's wife. The woman who slips poison into my food when she thinks I'm not looking. The ring on my finger, tarnished silver with a blackened turquoise stone, catches what little moonlight penetrates my room. This ring, passed down through generations of Lombardi judges, is all that remains of my former life. A life where I, Jim Lombardi, federal judge of the New York District, commanded respect and wielded the hammer of justice. The turquoise seems to watch me, pulsing with ancient knowledge. My grandfather's words echo through decades. Jim, this ring has protected our family since the 1870s. When your great-grandfather presided over Palermo mafia trials, this stone saved his life. It changes color when touching poison. I'd always dismissed it as an old man's superstition, until now. 17 years ago, I faced Franco Rossi across my courtroom, head of one of the East Coast's most vicious construction mafias. Rossi stood accused of murdering building inspectors who wouldn't be bribed. His eyes, cold, calculating, shark-like, assessed me as if determining my price. "Your Honor," his lawyer intoned, "my client is an honest businessman being framed." I nearly laughed. Honest? This man who cemented bodies into skyscraper foundations? This monster who'd turned half of New York's unions into puppets? During a recess, Rossi leaned close, whispering, "My uncle had a saying in Palermo. A judge only looks down on the accused until he's in a coffin looking up." His eyes remained dead, emotionless. I was fearless then. Young, incorruptible, stupid. The case progressed toward life imprisonment for Franco and his brother Vittorio. Then everything collapsed. Planted money in my safe, forged bank statements, fabricated recordings. His revenge was meticulous. I remember the FBI storming my chambers. My assistant, a kid I'd mentored, staring at me with disgust. Reporters circling like vultures. Worst was Maria's face, my wife, Marco's mother, across our kitchen table that night. No accusation in her eyes, just doubt. Momentary perhaps, but I saw it. Something inside me broke. Though I was eventually acquitted for lack of evidence, the damage was done. Reputation shattered. Career ruined. Trust, the most fragile commodity, destroyed. Maria died a year after we moved to Sicily. Heart failure, the doctors claimed. I know better. She died of heartbreak, of a stolen future, of vanished faith. When my son Marco brought Elena home, I felt nothing but joy until I saw who stood behind her. Franco Rossi, older but unmistakable, his obsidian eyes unchanged by time. "What an unexpected meeting, Judge," he said, his cold calculation piercing me anew. My blood froze. "Dad," Marco asked, confused, "you know Elena's father?" "We had professional dealings in New York," I managed, my mouth filling with metallic rage. "Oh yes," Rossi smirked. "Very professional." That evening, I told Marco everything. The trial, the frame-up, how Rossi destroyed me. We sat in my study among books brought from New York, fragments of my former existence. "Dad," Marco sighed, "that was ages ago. Elena isn't responsible for her father's actions. I love her." "Love isn't always reason enough," I argued, voice trembling. "You have no idea what her family's capable of." "Elena is different," he insisted. "She volunteers at hospitals. She's studying nutrition. She's a good person." "Rossi's don't produce good people," I spat. "They produce monsters who excel at mimicking humanity." I saw disbelief in my son's eyes. To him, I was just a bitter old man clinging to ancient grudges. The wedding was small, held in our neighbor Paolo's garden. Sicilian sunshine, jasmine scent, Mediterranean breeze. Marco looked at Elena as if she were a goddess descended. I watched my son pledge eternity to the daughter of the man who'd ruined me. Rossi sat opposite, occasionally glancing my way with a knowing smile that chilled my marrow. After the ceremony, Elena approached in her white gown, statuesque and beautiful. "I know you oppose our marriage," she said, smile predatory beneath its warmth. But we'll be happy, I promise. And I'll take care of you, Papa. The way she said Papa sent ice down my spine. Something lurked in her eyes. Something I couldn't identify, but that raised every alarm in my body. That night I dreamed I was back in court, but as defendant. Elena presided in her wedding dress, splattered with blood. Guilty, she proclaimed, pointing a crimson-nailed finger. Guilty, guilty, guilty. A month after the wedding came my diagnosis. Pancreatic cancer, stage 3. Dr. Martini, silver-haired and kind-eyed, delivered the news in his cluttered office. With proper treatment, there's hope, Jim, he said. Chemotherapy, perhaps surgery. You're strong. When I told Marco and Elena, my daughter-in-law's reaction surprised me. I'll care for you myself, she declared, embracing me. She smelled of expensive perfume and something else, something bitter I couldn't place. I studied nutrition. I know which foods fight cancer. I'll cook for you. Ensure you take your medications. Marco beamed with pride and relief. See, Dad, his expression said. She cares. She's good. I nodded, unease growing. Something in her enthusiasm felt wrong, excessive. That night, sleepless, I listened to my old house settling. Creaking floors, ticking clocks, rustling olive branches. A terrible suspicion formed. My diagnosis wasn't just illness, it was opportunity. The perfect chance to complete revenge 17 years in the making. The oddities with my ring began soon after. I noticed the turquoise lightning slightly after meals Elena prepared, returning to normal hours later. My grandfather's superstition suddenly seemed prophetic. One evening after she left, I sat before untouched risotto, studying my ring. Cautiously, I touched the plate's edge with my finger. Within seconds, the turquoise lightens dramatically, as if blue fire ignited within the stone. I began secretly discarding Elena's food, noting my condition stabilized. The pills she brought weren't Dr. Martini's prescriptions, but counterfeits. Having once presided over pharmaceutical fraud cases, I recognized the subtle differences. Each evening she'd visit, watching intently as I pretended to swallow pills and eat her cooking. Her eyes tracked every movement with that same clinical assessment I'd seen in her father's gaze. I learned deception, hiding pills under my tongue, disposing of food when she looked away, feigning deterioration while secretly seeing Dr. Martini for legitimate treatment. You're so thin, Papa, she'd observe, stroking my hand. The illness takes its toll, but you must eat. For Marco, he worries. I try, I'd whisper, affecting weakness I didn't feel. I gathered evidence, saved pills and food samples. Each day, my ring confirmed what I already knew. My son had married a patient, methodical killer. Late nights, I'd examine the counterfeit medications by moonlight. Perfect copies, the perfect murder. Slow, seemingly natural, with cancer providing perfect cover. Who questions when a terminal patient dies? But there was one miscalculation. One detail neither Elena nor Rossi could have anticipated. An ancient turquoise ring passed through generations of judges. Weeks passed. Marco visited less frequently. Seeing you like this hurts him too much, Elena explained. I understood her strategy. Isolation. Cut me off from my son to complete her task undisturbed. Looking through old photographs one day, I found an image of my grandfather outside the Palermo courthouse, proud and upright despite his age, wearing this same ring. Something crystallized. I would no longer be a victim. That evening, I called Marco, requesting he come alone. When he arrived, shock registered on his face. He expected a dying invalid, but found me thin, yet clear-eyed, steady-handed. Dad? His voice broke. You look better? But Elena said, Elena has been lying, I said, gesturing him to sit. About everything. I can prove it. I revealed my evidence. The pills, food samples, ring observations, test results from a clinic Elena didn't control. Marco listened, horror growing with each revelation. His face paled, hands trembled, tears formed. Impossible, he whispered. She loves me, loves us. She loves only revenge, I replied, placing my hand on his. And she nearly succeeded. Why not go to police, he asked, wiping tears. I wanted you to hear the truth from me, I answered. And I need your help. Our plan was simple. Catch Elena in the act. The next evening, when Elena brought soup, I was ready. Marco waited outside with a recorder and camera. I switched bowls while she adjusted a curtain. Join me, I invited. You must be hungry. I ate at home, she demurred. I insist. I pushed her bowl toward her. It helps with my loneliness. Elena paled, eyeing the soup. Fear flashed across her face, swift but unmistakable. I can't, she stammered. I'm allergic to the celery, I added. There's no celery, I noted, still smiling despite rage burning my throat. You said it was chicken broth with carrots and onions. Her eyes darted between door and window, a cornered animal calculating escape. You know, I continued, my ring has an interesting property. It changes color when touching poison, an ancient protection for judges in my family. I dipped it into her soup. The turquoise lightened visibly, transforming nearly white. The room fell silent enough to hear my heartbeat. My grandfather was right, I observed, as was I about your family. Elena leapt up, overturning her chair, her face contorted with hate, the mask of a true Rossi emerging. You'll prove nothing, she hissed. You're just a senile old man who'll die soon enough? Perhaps, I agreed, revealing my recorder. But Marco will find this recording interesting, as will the police. The door burst open. My son entered, pale and trembling with fury and horror. Elena, he whispered, is this true? She froze, then composed herself. Soft smile, tearful eyes. Marco, darling, she approached. It's not what you think. Your father's developing dementia alongside cancer. He's imagining. Stay back, Marco retreated. I heard everything, recorded everything. You tried to kill my father. Elena stopped. Her shoulders slumped, as if deflating. You don't understand, she whispered. He deserved it. He destroyed my family. He was right about you, Marco shook his head. About all of you. I'm calling the police. Events moved swiftly. Police discovered a poison collection in Elena's home, detailed dosage records, cancer-mimicking toxin research on her computer, and messages with her father planning my murder. Marco was devastated. Elena was arrested. Sicily's police proved surprisingly efficient, perhaps because the local chief came from an old family who remembered when mafia controlled the island. Later, we sat in my garden beneath an ancient olive tree. The air smelled of jasmine and sea salt. Distant church bells rang. She claimed you opposed our marriage from old hatred, Marco sobbed. That you'd never accept her. I didn't know, didn't understand. Her father nearly destroyed me. I squeezed his shoulder. She aimed to finish his work. Why? He asked, pain filling his eyes. Why couldn't she leave the past behind? Some people can't live without revenge, I sighed, watching the distant sea shimmer. She grew up hearing how I nearly imprisoned her father for life. To her, I was an enemy, requiring elimination. She said she loved me. Bitterness filled his voice. Was everything a lie? Perhaps not everything, I offered charitably, but love mixed with hatred becomes poison, like what she fed me. The investigation revealed Franco had supplied his daughter with rare poisons through shell companies. Elena had overheard her parents discussing their history with me and taken up their vendetta. We also learned her first fiancé had died mysteriously before their wedding, alleged allergic reaction now under review. I often think how close I came to death. Without that ring, my last connection to my grandfather, I'd be a cold corpse. Elena smiling at my funeral while holding my son's hand. Dr. Martini was astonished by my improvement under proper treatment. Your body responds remarkably well, he marveled, studying test results, as if something inside you fights the disease with extraordinary power. I didn't explain that it wasn't my body fighting disease, but my will resisting death orchestrated by the Rossis. The trial captivated Sicily, a classic tale of revenge, family, betrayal. At the final hearing, I met Franco Rossi's gaze one last time, beside his daughter on the defendant's bench, still immaculately dressed, spine rigid. But something had changed in his eyes, the shark-like emptiness replaced with something resembling respect. Marco divorced Elena. He's healing slowly, but healing nonetheless. Sometimes we sit evenings in my garden, drinking local wine, truly talking for the first time in years. I always thought law was abstract, he commented once. Now I understand why you loved it. You protected people from monsters. I smiled silently. The truth is more complex. Sometimes the line between protector and monster blurs. Rossi's revenge mirrors my own justice obsession, taken to extremes. On quiet nights under Sicilian stars, I twist this ring and contemplate justice's strange spiral. 17 years ago, I dispensed justice. Today, I've become its instrument. The ring gleams dully, guarding secrets until my family needs them again. In a world where vengeance thrives, justice must find its place. But I'm not convinced it's over. When night pain returns, from cancer or memories, I see Elena's face twisted with hatred, the real face beneath her loving mask. The amusing thing about revenge, Papa, she whispered during our final conversation, is that it never truly ends. It passes through generations, like your ring. Sometimes I imagine I glimpse her, a silhouette at my window, a shadow on the garden path, a reflection in town. Impossible, of course. She's imprisoned, but Rossi's have connections everywhere. Last week, something disturbed my sleep anew. My mailbox, old metal, rusty-hinged, filled with turquoise flower petals, exactly matching my ring's stone. Coincidence? Perhaps. But Sicilians know coincidences don't exist, only fate and intention. Each evening, I test my ring against food, medicine, doorknobs, watching for color changes, waiting for revenge's new form. So far, the stone remains dark. So far, I'm safe. The terrifying truth about justice versus vengeance, neither truly concludes. Both transmit through generations. In darkness's depths, I sometimes wake from nightmares featuring Elena's eyes, cold and calculating like her father's. I wonder, has it ended, or will Rossi vengeance reach beyond prison walls? I clutch my ring and whisper to the darkness, let them try. If 73 years have taught me anything, it's that justice, like my ring, manifests precisely when most needed.